Would you be shocked to learn that every single sale you've already made or are going to make, past, present, or future, falls into one of these four quadrants here, regardless of your business type? Well, I'm going to tell you now is the truth. The first thing we need to understand is which tier we're currently on and in which quadrant. And why this matters is because if we don't understand where we're at, we can't understand where we're going, because this follows a very specific sequence. The first thing we need to address is where we're at in outbound land, or are we in inbound land? Outbound means you're doing something proactive to get people to buy your stuff. Inbound means they're coming to you. So what ends up happening when everybody starts is they need to do outbound first. This is the most common mistake I see time and time again, is people want to skip these steps. And I was guilty of trying to do this years and years ago. And I can tell you from experience, it doesn't work, because the first quadrant we need to address is known. This is where everybody begins, or at least where they should begin, yet they often overcomplicate it. Known means that when I'm selling to someone, they already know who I am, and more than likely they trust me and they even like me. People who are in your network, your friends, your family, co-workers, somebody in your bubble who already knows what you do, or at least knows you exist. And in those instances, those are the easiest to sell to. This is step one. We start here because we have to proactively go find these people who are in our network and actually talk to them about our stuff. And what's great is these individuals that you're already talking to, you can skip about 50% of the entire sales process by the sheer fact that they probably already, again, the problem with this is that we don't really get good at moving the needle. At some point, there is just a fixed capacity, and you would be surprised how many businesses I talk to when I say, how do you get customers or clients? And they say, oh, we live off word of mouth and referrals. Okay, well, the problem is there's only so many people who can refer to you, and you're going to start getting diminishing returns. To recap, we want to start with known simply because it's the lowest barrier to entry. This is often low-hanging fruit when it comes to finding buyers. Who do you already know, or who already knows you, that would be interested, or has somebody else in their network that might be interested in your product or service? This is step one, and it can't be avoided, because what you're going to want to do at this point is migrate from known into, can you guess it? Yes, it's unknown. And this is where everybody doesn't want to go through the grind phase, because unknown is where real sales happen, where real founders, where real successful businesses are born. And when you graduate from known into unknown, now you're actually doing real sales. Examples of how you've done this likely are cold calling, cold DMs, or emails, strangers, just, I would say, networking if you want to put your business speak on it, but you're doing something to talk to strangers. You are knocking on doors, you are going to networking events, you are cold calling people, you are meeting people who have no idea what you do, have no idea why it matters to them, and you need to convince a stranger to give you money. Once we split these lines, this is where most businesses hang out at, outbound land. And they really want to go to inbound land. And we'll talk about these quadrants more, but they want people to come to them. How is it that big businesses are so great at just attracting people? Because you don't see the CEO of million-dollar companies rallying out there to try and get people to buy their stuff. They just show up and buy magically, it seems. I'll tell you, that's not actually the case. And what happens is when people want to get to there, they skip these order of operations. But it's really important that you understand that this is probably your actual constraint. In fact, I don't know who you are on the other side of this camera, but I'm willing to bet you're probably one of the 80 or 90% of businesses that I talk to who have no idea how to sell their stuff to strangers. And in my last video, which you haven't seen it, most people live here. They talk to people who already know what you do. They want the stuff. They have money to invest in it. That's not sales. That's being an order taker. Until you can consistently sell your stuff to 50 strangers and you can recognize the patterns and why they bought, then you can't move to inbound. And why this is so important is because people want to skip this and they want to go to this quadrant here. What is the stage? What does everybody want? They want inbound. They want people to come and actually just buy their stuff. What is the first thing that you should be doing? And it's not ads because everybody thinks it is. It's actually organic. Because what we want to get really good at is using the publicly available spaces, such as social media, such as YouTube, such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever platform your target demographic hangs out on. We want to take everything that worked in our 50 sales here and we want to go straight into organic. What you can do is social, so usually short form, or you can do YouTube, usually long form, or you can do things like SEO, blogs, posts. We want to graduate to getting people to come to our stuff. So organic is where the first just inkling of inbound starts to actually come into play. What can you create on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and short form that attracts people to your stuff? Or what can you create on sites like YouTube or whatever long form platform you wish to use that can attract people? Or what are you doing in terms of search engine optimization, things on your website that make people search up your product or service, they land on your website, your blogs, your posts. Many businesses are told that every business needs social media. The reality is yes, you need social media, but you're probably not actually using it the correct way. When you create organic content, it's not about you, it is about who you're actually helping. So what I would recommend doing is writing down the top 30 questions everybody asks about your product or service, which if you did this with cold calling, cold DMs, if you sold this to strangers, you should know all their objections and create content on that. Examples might be, I'm a real estate agent, people are interested in moving to Seattle. I would create videos that are long form about moving to Seattle, the best neighborhoods, the best schools, best restaurants, give them value. Do not talk about how great you are. And please don't hire somebody offshore to just pull a bunch of Canva templates and then also start posting things like that or AI generated imagery. Just stand in front of the camera and talk about your stuff. People will come to you. To recap, organic. We're now creating things. We're using the algorithms that the social media networks create to our advantage to attract people to our stuff. Think about what people search for, what questions they have, what concerns they have, what pain they're going through, and either create short form content, long form content, or text-based content that attracts people to your stuff. And then the final process, the one everybody wants to get to, and I'm going to explain to you why this is probably going to be a massive waste of your time and money if you don't do this in the correct order, is paid traffic. Everybody's favorite term, aka ads. What's what most people think of, at least when they think of paid. Yet, there are a few different ways you can do this. You can, yes, create ads and pay Facebook or pay YouTube or pay streaming networks to show your stuff. That is common as well. You can also pay people that are going to do affiliate. And then the other aspect you can do is you can leverage other people's trust. You can do what's called a trust trade, is what I like to call it. And this is something that somebody else has curated, but you are leveraging their trust. So think about it this way. You pay to go into somebody's Facebook group, you replace the banner. You pay to go onto somebody's podcast and you talk about your stuff. You pay for somebody's outlet that they control. Everybody thinks, you know what? I'm going to just skip all of this and I'm just going to go straight to ads. They think, man, ads are going to be my savior. If I just get in front of enough people and they see my stuff, then eventually I will make a lot of money and hopefully I will grow. That's not how it works, because if you skip this, which I consider this a rite of passage, and you skip this, you have no idea what the market responds to. You have no sales process. You have no objection squashing. You have no clear, hey, this hook works, this hook doesn't. And you're going to be paying a lot of money to these platforms. And then not only that, you probably also don't know what metrics indicate what didn't work as well. Hence why, unless you can understand the things that work in your sales process, and you can't really understand what works in your marketing. That's because what you first want to do is sales and then marketing. Yet people often flip these. It sounds a little bit ridiculous when I say it out loud, but you can't do marketing before you've done sales. It's as simple as that. But I want to briefly just reiterate that all you need to do is follow this sequence of events. If you don't follow this sequence of events, then unfortunately, you can't really grow the business the way you want it to. I know, sales are not fun, but typically, this is, if I had to estimate, this is probably about 10% of what you'll spend most of your time on, because this is usually almost surface level. You already know who's probably interested in your network and your stuff. This is probably where you're going to spend about 70 to 80% of the grind phase. And then this is the remaining 10%. And then this is a whole different league of its own. I would consider these their own three bubbles first before you even get to here, because you can mess up here. You'll still be your friends, family, co-workers at some point. You can mess up here because it's free to literally go to Google Maps, go to networking events, send people DMs. You get infinite tries to hit a home run. You can even mess up here. Having content is better than having no content. You can upload 50 videos that don't really do anything, but as long as the right person sees it, then the algorithm will get them into your actual sales process and they'll be interested in your stuff. It's a learning opportunity. This can go wildly out of control, especially if you're spending, let's say, like $30, $40 a day on ads. That can spiral really quickly and you have no idea what did or didn't work and you just wasted a ton of money. So again, focus on the order of operations. I hope this video was valuable to you. That's all I got for you this week, but be sure to subscribe because I do put out a video like this every single week. And comment below if this didn't make sense or if you are having trouble implementing this in your business. I need to know that, therefore I can make better content as well as what future content to make for you. And I'll be sure to answer your questions one-on-one. But that's all I got for you today. I'll see you next time.